Hello, and thank you for tuning in. Not an easy day. I just came back from the funeral of my friend Hagit and just had the presentation. Oh, sorry, a sec. Okay, so came back earlier from the funeral of my friend Hagit Refa'eli. She was my instructor when I was a teenager in a, it's not exactly scouts, but something of that sort. Anyway, it's a place for tour and hiking lovers. It's a place that we kind of learned about nature, about geography, about hiking, about all kinds of other skills for the outdoors. And she was my instructor over there, and we kept in touch for almost 25 years. I knew her children. She has 3 children. The oldest one is Noah. She's 18, I think, and 2 others that are, I think, 15 and 13, or something near that. And she found herself in the wrong place near Kibbutz Be'eri, which suffered tremendously, and she was killed by the terrorists. And only just, I think it was Friday, that they actually identified the body. They took DNA from the children, and there was a whole process going on. So, as you can see, this tragedy is still ongoing. We didn't bury all the dead people from uh, October 7th, from the actual massacre. There are still about 100 or 150 bodies probably that are still going through the process of identifying them and letting the families know there are still people that we're not sure what happened with them. So I want to share with you a few things. This is a picture that a friend of mine, Owen, sent me of us in those. Like at this point, I'm already a soldier. You can see I have the gun over here. But the years before that is when we were actually instructed by Hagit. Hagit is here in the middle with her daughter Noah, and that's kind of personality she was, a leader. She was a Ph.D. in education for science. She was promoting the Ethiopian community in Israel through education and through training teachers from the Ethiopian community. She was a biochemist, basically, in training, and a PhD in education for science. And she lived in a place called Hod HaSharon, which is northeast of Tel Aviv, not too far from where I grew up. I grew up in Kfar Saba, and we again the entire city showed up, and that's actually what I want to share with you. Take a look at this. I think it's going to work. So let me just. There's this street through Hod HaSharon that goes to the northern part of the city. Western part of the city, and it's on the way to the cemetery. The people of Hod HaSharon were standing with the flags of Israel for this, I don't know, mile or two, and a friend of mine took these videos. So these are the people of Hod HaSharon paying respect to their city's residents that was killed by the terrorists. I saw this banner over there: "Together we shall win," or "We will win or prevail." And in the funeral itself, you saw reservists like the man on the right with the uniform, and the other lady on the left. You can see her with the M16 and dressed like civilian, but she's clearly a reservist. So men, women, and hundreds of thousands of them are in the army right now, and that's what's going on. Really, a lot of people showed up. No surprise, she has many circles in her life: family, friends, university, work. Just she left. She touched the hearts of everyone, and that's how so many people really showed up from her university career, from work, from the school she was teaching in, etc., etc. People left flowers, which, although it's not a Jewish custom, one thing actually I noticed is what you see here is it's a flashlight. See that? Flashlight designed like a heart from the, you can translate it to the cave people. From the cave people, she was like she loved these adventures, going through different caves and underground tunnels and this and that. So she's coming from, she was like really beloved by this group of people as well. And yeah, so again, something special about her. Just near her her tomb, there was a fresh tomb of, from I guess last week, of two sisters that were killed in the music festival near Gaza. Two of, I think, 260 casualties that were people that were murdered by the terrorists in that party, and two sisters, just unreal. Ravaya and Noel Mansouri, and you can see them over here, just beautiful girls. We're going to pray soon, and I wanted to share the picture of one of the, I think, just horrendous stories. The 3-year-old girl, Abigail, her parents were murdered. Two of her siblings were hiding in a certain closet and somehow managed to just, the terrorists didn't find them, and they were saved by the soldiers later. But young Abigail was kidnapped into Gaza, 3 years old girl, all alone, just horrendous. So there are entire families that were kidnapped, like this family. I think then Shoham, Avigdor. There's like a mix here. I can't, again, I don't remember the names fully, but these are the family names basically. These two ladies at the bottom, they were American citizens, and they were just released last Friday. Maybe you saw it on the news. There is a famous story that got a, for some reason, strange picture, strange graphic out there of a soldier holding two babies. It's not a real picture. It's Photoshop and all that, but it speaks about this story, the Bardichevsky family. So Hadar is the woman on the right, and Itai, Itai was serving. He was in the infantry in Golani, and both of them were murdered. And but they hid their twins, somewhere in the house, and for more than 12 hours, these twins, 10 months old, 10 months, were just alone over there. And when the soldiers found them, this is like the commander of Golani, of the same division of Itai. When he found them, they were like not crying, like almost smiling. So he says, and they took them into the personnel carrier, which is very noisy. He says, we're not crying, we just held their ears so the noise won't affect them. They're not crying at all. And that's it. The picture on the right is them being taken care of. So these twins being fed. That's what you see over here. Survived this massacre. So we're praying for all these people. This Shabbat, there was a big Shabbat table at the heart of Tel Aviv for the I think the number now is 210 or 212 people that were kidnapped into Gaza, and they prepared a table for them, a empty table for those who are kidnapped. We're waiting for you. So that's the hope of so many. Israel is really feeling from, like, in retrospect of 2 weeks, hearing the testimonies, it was pretty much from the get-go this feeling of we are experiencing a Holocaust, the numbers, the casualties, the barbarity, all that. But as the testimonies are being presented in the last couple of weeks, it's really a feeling of such a pogrom, such a massacre, such a Holocaust, again, not in the scale, but in the atrocities and the stories. That's a design, a graphic design that I wanted to share with you. So with that, we'll start with the prayer. I want to just read Psalm 12. It's not a very long psalm. And we're praying for those who are kidnapped, for those who are injured. May they have a speedy recovery. For those who were killed, and we're praying for the elevation of their soul. We're praying for brave soldiers to protect us. Let's start. למנצח על השמינית מזמור לדוד, הושיע אדוני כי גמר חסיד, כי פסו אמונים מבני אדם, שב ידברו איש את רעהו. שפת חלקות בלב ולב ידברו, יחרט אדוני כל שפתי חלקות, לשון מדברת גדולות, אשר אמרו, ללשוננו נגביר, שפתנו איתנו, מי אדון לנו? משוד עניים, מאנקת אביונים, עתה אקום אדוני, יאמר אדוני, אשית בישע, יפיח לו. אמרות אדוני אמרות טהורות, כסף צרוף בעליל, לארץ מזוקק שבעתיים, עתה אדוני תשמרם, תצרנו מן הדור, זו לעולם, סביב רשעים יתהלכון, כרום זולות לבני אדם. We're praying, of course, for our soldiers. For those who are here for the first time, it's called Mishe Berach. He who blessed our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, will bless our brave soldiers. Just wanted to share that with you, and it is recorded, so if you want to read it through, you're of course welcome. Okay, so before we start the updates, and after that there is a short Bible study. If you guys have any questions, you're of course welcome to write down or just open the microphone. And thank you, Chris and Karina. Yes, appreciate it. So if there are any questions now or later, it's fine. I guess maybe some of you can't stay all the way through. How's the situation in the north? It's warming up. There are voices that are saying that we should actually start the war with Hezbollah first, and once we finish with them, we can go back to Gaza. Again, we cannot live anymore in the shadow of these ongoing threats, not just the genocidal intention. This is something that we've been living through since the beginning of the Zionist movement in the land of Israel. Okay, all these death threats that were going on here since the 19th century, and especially since the 1920s. It's the combination of the death threats and the actual ability to carry that through. And I mentioned it last week somewhere, that we're not talking about just Gaza and just, Hezbollah in the north. It's not just one front. Iran would basically, the octopus, they called it, of Iran, the arms of that octopus are in quite a few places. Okay, so it's Hezbollah in Lebanon, it's the Shiite militias in Syria, it's Hamas, it's missiles from Iran, Iraq, Yemen, drones from Iran, Iraq, Yemen. So all this is the axis basically that we're dealing with, and on top of that, they are trying to constantly incite the Palestinians, both in the West Bank and the Arab Israelis, to create havoc and riots and whatnot. So it's multiple fronts at the same time. You see, so when Israel is is fighting. It's not in one front. It's as I counted it, like okay, so Lebanon, Syria, Gaza, and then there's like kind of like a home front, okay, with the West Bank and the Arab Israelis, which for now, I mean, the Arab Israelis, some of them are actually supportive of Israel, but again, the ongoing incitement and this type of incidents, like the Islamic Jihad rocket that hit a hospital, okay, in Gaza, and it was their fire, but of course they said it's Israel. This type of moments in the war could actually create riots and another havoc in Israel itself. So this is something that you should be aware of, that Israel is concerned with more than just one or two fronts. It's actually multiple fronts at the same time. So about the north, again, the question actually is who's going to take the initiative, because of whether we're just going to, okay, we'll take care of, we'll finish with Hamas in Gaza, and if Hezbollah starts and initiate a full-scale war, then we'll have to deal with that. So some people say, no, why should we let them do it on their timing? We should interfere that. So anyway, that's this is just some of the things that are being considered right now. Again, I'm not in the decision maker table. I'm just trying to reflect to you what's happening. Yeah, but everything is just very sensitive. Okay, this for now. Okay, so I'm going back to the updates. We started with the faces of the people that were killed or kidnapped that were prayed for, and now we're moving to the updates. I want to share with you all kinds of updates about Israel. I'm trying to, for those who are here for the first time, just trying to give you updates about things that you won't necessarily hear on the news, things that gives you the feeling of what is going on in Israel. Okay, so you'll see a lot of Hebrew. Don't worry, I'll just explain what's happening. So there are a lot of initiatives since I think at least a week of people that want to take care of the animals in the kibbutzes that were attacked. Some of them are pets, like this little guy over here, and in some cases it's just dairy farms or livestock, etc. And there are farmers from other parts of the country that are volunteering to go down to these kibbutzes and take care of the farms, take care of the cows or others that are really suffering. A dairy cow that is not being milked 2 or 3 times a day, it's a disaster. And some of them were not, they didn't take care of them for more than a week. So this is a serious thing. And the same goes with, of course, pets. So there are a lot of volunteers around that. I'm trying to show you again the spirit of the volunteering and helping that is going on right now in Israel. There's a friend called Avi Biran. He's a tour guide. He took this photo, and it says in Hebrew, "We're here to hug." So this is the type of support that some people need, and it's quite amazing. On my Facebook page, I actually I forgot his name is Abarjil. Someone I forgot his first name. He's a photographer that took a bunch of pictures, in the kibbutz Be'eri. Be'eri is again one of the kibbutzes that suffered tremendously. I think more than 100, probably 130 casualties. So his name is Aviv Abergel. So if you want to find him, it's Aviv, A-V-I-V. Abergel is A-B-E-R-G-E-L, photography. So Aviv, he's a photographer, and he went down to this kibbutz to document the disaster and how it looks like. No, you won't, like in his post with, I don't know, probably 60 photos or so, you won't see any bodies or anything like that. Just the destruction of the kibbutz. So from all these photos, I chose this one where you can see a small bike over here and this little scooter for the elderly. And it resonated something that I think I read it last week actually in another context. A fierce-looking nation. Okay, it's a part of the curses to Israel if they won't follow the commandments. There will be a fierce-looking nation that will attack them. A fierce-looking nation without respect for the old or pity for the young. And that's pretty much what we experienced 2 weeks ago. And I think in a way we still experience that because not only they don't have respect for our elders and young, they clearly don't care about their own elders and young in Gaza. Many civilians that will be at least suffer from this state of war, if not actually harmed. Again, from them being the Hamas and the terrorists using their own people as a human shield. Reservists, there are just many photos like that. You'll see the reservists coming back home from 1 week, 2 weeks of serving, and you'll see them with their children, with their families. There's a lot of I mean, I saw a lot of that, so I just took a few, and that's what you see here. Again, Avi Biran took this photo. It says Gaza Street. It's a very famous street in the heart of Jerusalem. Gaza Street. It's the historical road from the old city of Jerusalem to Gaza. And this is actually the street of the private house of our prime minister Netanyahu. Okay, he actually lives in Gaza Street, and the official residency is also very close to Gaza Street, just meters away from Gaza Street. It's called Balfour Street. So Gaza Street is not just a small alleyway. Okay, it's an actual place. And just underneath Gaza in blue, that's the official sign. Okay, just underneath it, it says Nova Street. Nova is the name of that festival, the music festival in which the massacre took place. So they wanted to rename the street, not Gaza Street, but Nova Street. Beautiful initiatives all over the country to send packages from civilians to soldiers in the front, both in Lebanon and near Gaza. And this is a little box to put the letters for the letters for and postcards for our soldiers. Okay, and that's it. So the children writing it or families writing it and put over there. And then these letters are going to distribution center, I guess, and they prepare the packages and put one note like that, and the reservists are like really happy to read that. They make a lot of videos about it and read it on TikTok, etc. Just so you can see there's a strong connection between the civilians and the soldiers. There was an interesting video by some Russian was it Russian? Probably Russian, but not in Russia itself. Speaking about how President Putin, was not able to recruit 300,000 soldiers for his campaign in the Ukraine, and everyone like is pretty much fleeing from the country. And this is a country of 130 or 140 million people. And while in Israel, in 48 hours, 300,000 soldiers, probably even more soldiers showed up. And I don't know, a countless number of volunteers, pretty much in every aspect of life. So again, it shows you how mentally prepared the Israelis are for these kind of situations, in the sense that people have the spirit of volunteering, of helping, and protecting the country. A funny trend that is going on in our reserve units is to shave a mustache. So there's a lot of jokes around that, and these are the type of things that every now and then pop up on our social media. Again, it's all in Hebrew, but that's what's going on. This Lieutenant Colonel is O. She's the commander of a battalion of women and men, if I remember correctly. There are it's like a mixed battalion of women and men. She's a combat soldier. It's an actual infantry unit, and it's called Karakal, which is a kind of a desert animal, kind of looks like a cat, a big cat. And Lieutenant Colonel O and her soldiers killed about 100 terrorists during the first couple of days of the counterattack. So it goes to show you that women are in the Israeli infantry, in combat units, and including this commander here. I mentioned the Arab Israelis. There are Arab Israelis that are more explicit about their support to Israel. This particular woman, we know her for quite a few years now, Captain Eila Wawiya. She's Arab Muslim, and she's volunteered to the Israeli army, and she's now in the spokesperson unit of the Israeli army, and she makes all kinds of videos like that as a part of the Israeli army spokesperson campaign during the war. So that's just a woman that many Israelis actually know about her. It's not new. But again, I wanted to give you a sense of what's going on with the Arab Israelis. This type of things you'll see a lot during during the last 2 weeks. There were many marriage proposals, actual weddings going on near the front lines. Over here, there was a marriage proposal. You see, it's like there's a Jeep over here and some tanks, and all the reservists are celebrating with the young couple. So again, you saw that a lot in the last couple of weeks, and the happiness doesn't stop, the life doesn't stop, although we are in dark times. Going now to not exactly foreign affairs, but I'm just trying to give you some other perspectives on our situation. It seems like the war in Gaza, just like any other operation, it's been like that for many years. The whole Palestinian-Israeli conflict is raising a lot of tension and emotions abroad as well. And over here, you'll see these two Muslim ladies ripping these the pictures, the pictures of the people that were kidnapped. This one is in London. So you'll see there's a lot of tension going on. I'm sure you follow the news. Some of you write to me in person about Berlin and other places. So it's a conflict that is not, it's not like I don't know, as sad as it is, yeah? And my heart goes to the Armenian people. Their conflict with Azerbaijanis, I don't think raises a lot of tension and emotions in other parts of the world. But again, just sharing this with you, so you'll have the reference of how different this is. This conflict is, it's not just a conflict between two countries. The de facto state of Hamas in Gaza and Israel, it's a clash of civilizations almost. And you'll hear that it will echo feel the vibrations in many parts of the world. So over here, you'll see these two posts. One on the left says the humanitarian aid. Israel is like, okay, we'll take care of the civilians, but the Hamas terrorists are like the wolf. The famous story of the, what's her name? Forgot the name of it, but the Hood something, forgot her name. So that's one thing on the left, and on the right, everyone is basically a prisoner of Hamas. He took his own people as hostages, and that's what you see here on the right. There is a very strong sentiment in Israel that this will be, let's say, the last war in Gaza. So someone created this one, Gaza City. That's how it should look like, a Lego piece. So again, we talked about it last week about this whole concept of revenge in the Bible, and people are angry. People don't want to I see posts and videos of people that were on the far left or just the left, and kind of hope that maybe some chance, like to give chance a piece a chance, sorry, and they feel completely betrayed by the Palestinians, including Palestinians they knew for many years, and there's a lot of strong sentiment that this should be a total war and not some other round of violence that we had in the past. So that's again sharing this sentiment with you. Greta Thunberg affiliated herself with Hamas and with the Palestinians. So that's what you see here on the left. They made a big headlines in Israel, at least. And on the right side, you'll see the Hamas paragliders, and the parachute looks like creates the image of Hitler, basically. So again, this it's such a barbaric attack, such a Nazi attack. And I actually want to bring up a few points about this attack and its relation to the Nazis. Over here, my friend Daniel uploaded this chart over here. Some people saying, well, the amount of casualties on the Palestinian side is so high, they are the victims. Okay, so he created this charter. Sorry, this charter, this table over here that says how many soldiers were killed for the Nazis, more than 5 million, and for the US, less than 500,000. Okay, and how many civilians were killed for the US? 11,200, and for the Nazis, almost 2 million citizens were killed. So I guess like he's basically laughing at the people that bring up this argument. Okay, so if the Nazis had so many casualties, they are probably the victims, and we should support them. They are the underdog. Again, it has nothing to do with that. It's a total war of right and wrong, good and evil, and has nothing to do with the amount of casualties. So that's another thing that I want to share here. Stand With Us came up with this chart over here, fill in the box. Okay, so the Hamas compared to the Nazis, and yeah, you can fill it out. And I actually wanted to bring up a few other things that are, in this comparison with the Nazis. It's not like I'm raving, of course, the Nazi party. I'm trying to show you something about the barbarity of the attack. And so during the war, in the Second World War, the first 6 months or so of the Barbarossa campaign of Nazi Germany towards Russia, towards the Soviet Union, during the first 6 months, there was the Einsatzgruppe, and okay, basically the murder squad of about 1,000 people each. I think 4 or 5 of them raided through Eastern Europe and organized the mass killing in shooting pits, basically. And they just organized the Jewish communities in each town, in each village, in each city. They organized this mass killing with the help of the locals. And at some point, the soldiers started to, sounds weird, okay, but started to complain that it's just too difficult. How many days can you just see women and children crying and then getting taken to the shooting pits and being killed? So after the 6 months of the Holocaust by bullets, the Nazis moved to gas. So in a way, the Nazis at some point didn't want to see the faces of the victims. See, they completely dehumanized the Jews, but in a way, it was even for them. They didn't want to see anymore the faces of the victims when they killed them. So that's what started the Holocaust by gas, basically. On the other side, the massacre that we just experienced is cruel in the abuse that came before the killing in some cases, in some cases rapes, in some cases abuse, mutilation, and the celebration of all of that on social media. So another component of the Nazi war machine was to actually hide, to hide all the massacres. They knew that what they're doing is unacceptable. They wanted to do that ideologically, but they said it's unacceptable. We have to hide it from the world, from the Jews, the victims, so they won't resist, okay? And even from our own people. The Germans must not know what exactly we're doing. So that's, again, the mindset of the Nazis. Complete opposite of what was going on over here, celebrating all of that online. I want to add this two other points regarding what we just experienced, this massacre and the Nazis. After probably a generation, not the first generation, but probably on the second generation, after the second World War, we're already starting to see a mixed marriage of Germans and Jews, or Germans and Israelis, Israeli Jewish. I like on the second generation, okay, let's say, or third generation, we already see. I know in person probably 5 or 6 couples of Israeli Jews and German men and women. So in a way, no one forgot what happened in the Second World War. No one is forgiving or anything like that. Okay, but life goes on. I don't think there's Israelis that blame second or third generation of Germans for the atrocities of the Nazis. I don't think so, but it's still there. I mean, it's a live memory. No one is forgiving about that. No one is forgetting about that. It's something that we live. It's really in our daily life. Not my family, but my wife's family. Beside of her grandmother, everyone was killed. She was in Israel at that time. She was a Zionist. She moved to Israel in the 30s, and that's how she survived. But all the rest of her family was killed. So no one is forgetting about that. But I'm just trying to show you that this is the second, third, fourth generation is already willing to have to start families together. Okay, and I'm not forget about the point of mixed marriages and what people say about that. But I'm just saying it's a fact. It's just factual. In the case of the Palestinians, since the inception of it in 1948, after the Independence War of Israel, there was just an ongoing propaganda against Israel, genocidal propaganda against Israel. It took one shape and form and then changed it, but the point was that Israel should not exist. It was like that from the get-go, since the British Mandate and 48, and it was just like that, 67. It was ongoing genocidal campaign against the Jews and against Israel, and it had all kinds, again, of forms and shapes and nuances, but whether it was a more secular leaning or more Islamic jihadist kind of leaning, it was always there. Okay, so we're talking about the fourth generation already, and I know very few Palestinians and Jews that got married. I know it's happening, but it's very, very rare. Okay, but it really is an ongoing generational campaign. In the case of Nazi Germany, it's pretty much one generation. Yeah, so there was anti-Semitism before that in Germany, but this type of genocidal anti-Semitism of the Nazi Party was all just during that time, 30s, 40s. And over the years, there was what is called denazification of Germany. And I'm not sure if it's something that is possible to do, the indoctrination of the Palestinians, specifically in Gaza, but a Palestinian national identity. I'm not talking about individuals, okay? I'm talking about the national identity. I'm talking about the collective. The indoctrination is so deep, so rooted. That's the identity. The identity of the Palestinian national movement is to eliminate Israel. Okay, so there are all kinds of nuances of how you do that, whether you do it demographically or whether you do it by taking over the institutions, and there are all kinds of ways of doing it, but to eliminate the idea that there is a Jewish state in the land of Israel. So it's much worse the way I see it. So these are just a few points that I wanted to share with you. I think I'm almost done with the updates. So let me just, there's a lot of criticism about the government. I mentioned that before. It says basically the citizens are the lion on the top, number one. The Israeli army is wounded, but it's number two, way up there. Then the government is a bunch of mice. That's what you see here on the bottom. So that's one thing. And there was this pretty dramatic, I must say, accusation against Netanyahu that he caused Bibi Yar. Bibi is the nickname of Netanyahu. Benjamin Netanyahu is called Bibi. And Babi Yar is the massacre that took place in Ukraine, just near Kiev. It was was that 1940 or 1941? Can't remember right now. But in September, I guess, of 1940 or 1941, I just forgot. There was this massacre of more than 30,000 Jews in Kiev. And today we are experiencing that, and the blame is going on Netanyahu. So this is a very harsh criticism, of course. I just took a more extreme example, but I'm just trying to convey the sentiment of the anger of many people against the government. So this is the updates part. I'm opening it for Q&A, and after that, if you are able to stay for the Bible study, I want to read a little bit of, I want to talk about the Messiah, son of Joseph, and Zechariah 12. Okay, so in England, we are sadly having a lot of anti-Semitism. I find it very disturbing and very sad. Thank you, Lorraine, for sharing. A friend of mine shared this today. Yesterday, we were to be on the move in London for an Israel prayer solidarity walk. Info about it went viral and thousands were expected, including many from the Jewish community. Then Hamas sympathizers, pro-Palestinians, heard and said they were coming out in force to oppose us. You see the picture. Police said we must cancel our group, but let the one in the picture go ahead. Such is the UK. Yeah, I could not forward the photo. Okay, that's fine. Thank you again, Chris, for sharing. Again, we've seen these rallies, and it is very, very disturbing. And at least as far as I'm concerned, it's not very surprising. Again, this capitulation to the militant pro-Palestinian groups is it's not new. Let's put it this way. Little Red, Little Red Riding Hood. That's the one I was. I remember the red and I remember the hood, but I couldn't remember exactly the name. So Little Red Riding Hood. That's goes back to the photo we talked about earlier. What percentage of the 1.2 million Arabs who are Israeli citizens are denazified and would help to turn around the Palestinians? Okay, Paul, just to correct you on the numbers, we have about 2 million Arab-speaking minorities in Israel. 150,000 are Druze, which are loyal to Israel, and about 150 probably thousand are Arab Christians. Okay, so these 300,000 are different in their approach to Israel. So the Druze are loyal to Israel completely, serving the army, etc. And the Christians are divided between them. There are some that are leaning for Israel. They saw what was going on with Christians in the Middle East. They see that they thrive here, and therefore they lean towards Israel. And some are actually pro-Palestinians. It's not historically, I'll just say in the 1920s, 30s, when the Arab even before that, in the 19th century, the Christians in the region were actually, in the Middle East, were actually the one that promoted the idea of Arab nationalism. Okay, I think his name was Aflak from Syria. There are all kinds of names like that of people that were promoting the idea that Arabs should unite Christians and Muslims should unite around them being Arabs, the Arab identity. And in the 1940s, 50s, it was translated into the Palestinian identity, and then many Arab Christians were actually in a strong part, an important part of the Palestinian national movement, including the terror groups. The name of the more Christian terror groups, there was a man called Haddad. No, not Haddad. What's his name? It's called the Jabha. Jabha is the front. It's a Palestinian terror group that was a part of the. They were Christians, and they were a part of the terror groups of the 1970s. So there are a few, not from the top of my head, but I do remember they were pretty prominent. The Arab Christians, the Palestinian Christians, they were actually very strongly with the Palestinian national movement and even in the terror groups. So that's, again, I just pointed out in the 2 million, there are the Druze that are loyal, and then there are the Christians that are mixed. And I would say in the last 20 years, they tend more to be with Israel. Now we still have to deal with 1.7 million Muslims. Okay, who are they exactly? So I would okay, so there are a few groups over there. One is very much affiliated with the Palestinian national movement. Some of them are in the cities. We call it the Madani Arabs. They are in the cities, places like Nazareth, Haifa, Akko, Jaffa, Ramle. Okay, they are with the Palestinian national movement. And if you remember, a couple of years ago, there was the riots of the Arab Israelis in Israel, very violent. They are like part of that. Then you have the Falahi, what we call the Falahi, the farmers, let's call it. Historically, they were farmers. They live in, I don't know, a few hundreds of villages across the country. Some of these villages turned into cities, and they're also very much with the Palestinian cause. But you also have the Bedouins that are, so some are very much against the Palestinians, they actually serve in the army, and some are not necessarily very much with the Palestinians, but they are more driven by this Islamic sentiment. The Islamic movement was kind of like recruiting them. So the Bedouins are about 400,000 people. Some are with and some are against the Palestinians. I personally know many Bedouins from the Negev desert that are actually serving in the army. And the last group in this Muslim minority is the Jerusalemites, the East Jerusalemites, 340,000 probably, very Palestinians, very Palestinians. So I tried to break this, block of 2 million people, the Arab-speaking minorities in Israel, to these few groups. So just quick overview: the Druze loyal to Israel, Christians basically mixed, but historically mixed. Now there are, I guess, more people that are leaning for Israel, at least don't go against it. And then you have the Bedouins in the south, tends to be more with Israel, but there's a group of Bedouins that are against Israel, or because of more like Islamic reasons, but Islamic identity. And then you have the other Arab Israelis that are identify themselves as Palestinians, although they're not necessarily, go against Israel totally, like violently. Okay, so this is pretty much where it stands. So I hope I answered your question.
Itamar,
Yeah.
can you make a chart of that, perhaps for the next meeting? Because I think some of us are still perplexed. You're saying there's 2 million Arabs in Israel. That does not include the Gaza Arabs?
No, of course not. I'm talking about citizens or residents in the case of East Jerusalem.
Well, but are you saying there's 2 million Arab citizens?
I'm saying there are 2 million Arabs in Israel that are either citizens, and in the case of East Jerusalem, they are permanent residents.
Okay.
They're not citizens, but they are.
So it's more than 1.2 million.
Yeah, 1.2, that was a long time ago.
Okay. And out of that, you're saying maybe 200,000 of them are pro-Israel, and the rest are either on the fence or or
Let's say 150,000 Druze and probably 200,000 Bedouins are pretty much with Israel. Again, it's not super accurate, like in the case of the Bedouins, it's not super accurate, but the Druze are just, this is a part of their faith, basically. They are loyal to every country they're in. So the Druze in Syria, loyal to Syria. The Druze in Lebanon, loyal to Lebanon. It's just a part of their faith. So I can say they are loyal to Israel because they all serve in the army, all the men, I guess. Not so much the women, but they are loyal. It's a part of their religious identity. As far as the Bedouins concerned, historically they're tribes. Okay, so they never affiliated with the Palestinians because of culture, because of language, because of millions, really million things. But because of the Islamic movement entering the tribes, and because of marriage of Bedouin men to Palestinian women, the dowry is lower in the case of Palestinian women. Then you do have this bubbling Palestinian and Islamic sentiment in the Bedouin tribes, something that, let's say, 30 years ago, you didn't have that. Just an anecdote, okay, there's Ismail Haniya, is a part of the leadership of Hamas in Gaza, Ismail Haniya. His sister is actually married to a Bedouin man in the Negev desert. His sister actually lives in Israel, just as an example, okay? So we do have women from Gaza and women from the West Bank married to Bedouin men in the Negev desert.
wow.
It's a thing. Yeah, I meet those people. I know of these people.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting.
Okay, so about a chart and all that, I have a whole tour about the Arab Israelis. Like it's a thing, a virtual tour. So anyway, we can talk about it.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions before we move to the Bible study? Thank you, Paul.
I do not have a question, but just wanted to share something. So I'm German, and my father was, his family was displaced in 1946.
From where?
He was displaced from Czechoslovakia.
Czechoslovakia, yeah.
So for 700 years,
Yes.
Germans had been in Czechoslovakia, having their own villages and towns, and
yes.
so when the war was lost, thanks be to God, then lots of them were murdered, raped, and most of them expelled.
Yeah, I think it's like 10 million or 12 million Germans, right? Ethnically Germans that were kicked out from different parts of.
I don't know the number. What I wanted to share
it's
is
a big number. I know. Maybe I know that it's in the millions of Germans. It's not like few. Like your family story is just one story out of millions of people were expelled after the war.
Yeah, I just wanted to share that my father was 6 at the time.
Wow.
And his sisters were 12, 14, 16 years older than him. And so they lost everything. They hadn't been particularly, fans of Hitler, but it was back then, there was not much, it was very rural. They didn't have a lot of information where they were. But growing up, I never ever heard from this side of the family any hatred, anything that was, they talked to me about the ordeals they had suffered, but they never said that we should go back
and revenge.
This is ours.
Yeah.
So they didn't keep this alive. Never ever did I hear something like that from any of them. And I found that really interesting because it's about the same time that they were, similar time they were displaced, but they were integrated. They were despised in Western Germany, so they were shipped to Western Germany. Part of the family was shipped to Eastern Germany, so then there was a separation of family too. But they were, they were put on the marketplace in the village, and then the mayor was deciding which person or family has to live with local people. So my father and his parents and sisters, they were then allocated to the pharmacist. He had to take them in, and they had absolutely nothing, but they started to work the next day and build up their lives again. And as I said, there was never a word of
revenge or
hatred or whatsoever. I mean, this is just my personal experience. I don't know how it was in other families, but I just thought if I could have been born in a refugee. I mean, they spent maybe 2 weeks in a refugee camp, after arriving in Western Germany. I could have been born in that refugee camp and be indoctrinated about, wanting to go back to the property that my ancestors had for I don't know how many years, a long time. But that was never, ever, ever a thing. Never. The focus was completely on just getting on with it and building a new life where they were put, and they were despised. It was not that the Western Germans were saying, hooray, happy to take you in. They really didn't like the displaced people, but still, it worked out in the end.
what is it, like a cultural thing? They didn't like it because of the difference in dialect and culture and just
I think it was
foreigners, stuff like
just
that?
because they were foreigners. I
Yeah,
mean, they
okay.
were also Germans, but they were foreigners.
Yeah, get it. Yeah, Chris, this is exactly right. And I know I didn't forget your interest in the Jews from Arab and Muslim countries fleeing to Israel, including my family. This is exactly what happened with my family from both sides, one from Yemen, one from Morocco. 800,000 Jews from Muslim countries ended up in Israel especially after 48, some before that. So during the 50s, 60s, massive waves of immigration from these countries. In some countries, it was more violent, like Egypt, I guess, in Iraq. In other countries, it was driven by the population. In other places, it was driven by the government. In other places, it was driven by religious sentiment. There are all kinds of reasons for what exactly happened. Each country was a little different, but the point is that my mother, my uncles, they never said a word. We need our apartment and our whatever. They didn't have much, but no one was talking like that to get their property back from Morocco or anything like that. Is nonsense. So they understood, okay, we need to start new life. We are doing it in our ancestral homeland. We're doing it in Israel, and there was no feeling of revenge against the Moroccan people or against the Yemenite people. It was just nonsense. It was not even a word. In the last, I don't know, 10, 15 years, my uncles and some of my cousins, they went back to Morocco to just to experience and to see the land that they left, and they actually, some of them visited the house where they not grew up, but they lived for a while in a city called Meknes, and they visited the house. Hi, how are you? They just said hi to the Muslim family over there. It was all very, very friendly. Nothing serious. It was just they were very welcoming, and there was no issue. And there is no issue. I mean, as far as we're concerned, okay, this is we started this new life. We're not crying for. I mean, we remember the past, but we just don't cry for it. And historically, I would say the Jews always remembered their ancestral homeland. They always want to come back, but it was not as an act of revenge against the Roman Empire. It's not like we went to Italy to attack Rome and we need our menorah back. Okay, nothing like that happened. This is a part of our identity to live in the land of Israel. So yeah, just a thought. And again, Chris, thank you very much for sharing that. It's an amazing point that you're bringing up. I read about these refugees a while ago, a few years ago. I read an article about the ethnically Germans that were expelled, and I for some reason I remember the number. It's in the millions for sure. I can't remember. It was like 10 million or 12 million. I think it's in that neighborhood. But anyway, thank you for sharing. Any other thoughts or comments? And again, Chris, I really welcome these kind of comments, even if it's create a longer discussion. It's perfectly fine. This is a part of what we do on this group, so appreciate it. Okay, Karina is saying thank you. Okay, fine. Okay, so what I wanted to do next is to talk about. It's a very heavy subject, so I'm just going to touch the surface of it. I want to talk about Zechariah 12. Zechariah 12, like other chapters I read before, last week, I guess. These are messianic chapters, okay? Meaning they are talking about the days, the messianic era. They're not necessarily talking about the Messiah. Again, I'm talking about the Jewish perspective on it, and Jewish understanding of the text. So I know it, for those who are Christians, it won't necessarily resonate very well. It will sound a bit strange, but I just wanted to share what I have, again, what at least the Jewish tradition says about it. And I'm not an expert in the Talmud. I know of the Talmud discussion of this chapter, but I'm just trying to give you some understanding of it. So let's start, and then we'll see where it takes us. Okay. Just I have to reorganize my screen. Just okay, good. Jerusalem's enemies to be destroyed. Okay, so a prophecy, the word of the Lord concerning Israel. The Lord who stretched out the heavens, who lays the foundation of the earth, and who forms the human spirit within a person, declares, I am going to make Jerusalem a cup that sends all the surrounding people reeling. Judah will be besieged as well as Jerusalem. Just a note here, the name of the war as far as Hamas concerned is Tofan el-Aqsa. Tofan is the Great Flood. Okay, so it is all about Jerusalem, basically. All the calls for arm in this conflict was always around Jerusalem. Okay, on that day, when all the nations of the earth are gathered against her, I will make Jerusalem an immovable rock for all the nations. All who try to move it will injure themselves. On that day, I will strike every horse with panic and its rider with madness, declares the Lord. I will keep a watchful eye over Judah, but I will blind all the horses of the nations. Then the clans of Judah will say in their hearts, the people of Jerusalem are strong, because the Lord Almighty is their God. Okay, so just this part of the clans, okay, then the clans of Judah, the word here is Alufei Yehuda. Alufei Yehuda is like the captains of Judah. It really has some kind of religious, sorry, not religious, military connotation to this word. Okay, so I'm not sure why it was translated to clans. Just check. I have the art scroll with me this time. I learned from the last mistake. Then the captain. Oh, you see, it actually says that in the art scroll. Then the captains of Judah will say in their hearts. Okay, so I was correct about that. So the captains of Judah will say in their hearts, the people of Jerusalem are strong because of the Lord Almighty. I want to go through this again. Yeah, okay. And then let's continue. On that day, I will make the clans of Judah, again, the captains of Judah, like a fire pot in a wood pile, like a flaming torch among sheaves. They will consume all the surrounding peoples right and left, but Jerusalem will remain intact in her place. Meaning these captains of Judah will be amazing fighters. Okay, it goes further on here. And some of the testimonies of the soldiers that were fighting in the first couple of days in order to push back in the counterattack against the terrorists, and some of the civilians that were fighting against the terrorists to protect their own families, like their families are a few meters away from them. It's exactly what we read here. It's just unreal. A person that killed about 15 terrorists, one civilian with his gun, killed a civilian that killed 15 terrorists, okay, just with his gun and with his family in the back. Just unbelievable stories. The women battalion, that the 10 of them were surrounded with like 50 terrorists, and they managed to kill them all. Things that you just from a movie. Okay, so let's read that. Okay, the Lord will save the dwellings of Judah first, right? The dwellings of Judah are like the tents of Judah, so that the honor of the house of David and the Jerusalem's inhabitants may not be greater than that of Judah. Let me touch this point in the Israeli context, okay? In the ongoing argument since pretty much forever, some people say we have to, some Israelis are secular, okay? So they say we have to trust God didn't help us in the Holocaust, God didn't help us for all these long exile, we should protect ourselves, okay? And there is the other part that says, no, it was always God with us, okay? And he's the one that protects us. So you can actually see this debate going on in this verse, okay? So that the Lord will save the dwellings of Judah first. The dwellings of Judah is the tents of Judah, not actual the center of Jerusalem. It's the periphery, maybe even the kibbutzes in Gaza that are secular, so that the honor of the house of David and the Jerusalem's inhabitants, those are very, very faithful, okay? They won't have such a great honor, okay, over Judah, over the captains of Judah. In order to kind of like balance the secular and the religious in a way, this is my take on it, and think about it. On that day, the Lord will shield those who live in Jerusalem, so that the feeblest among them will be like David. Okay, so the lowest of them will be like David, fighting like King David, and the house of David will be like God. Okay, so the idea is that they are killing left and right. The smallest of them is killing like David, and the house of David, like their captains or the masters of war, are striking like an angel, basically. The word God over here, it actually says God in the Hebrew too, I think. Just see. Yeah, no, it actually says like an angel. Yeah. So where is that? Like God, like the angel of the Lord going before them. Yeah. So that's what it says in the Hebrew too. On that day, I will set out to destroy all the nations that attack Jerusalem. And then there is this very, very famous messianic part of this chapter. Okay, with this describing this war. So again, I'm not referring so much to the Christian understanding of it. I'll also say that what you see here is Bible Gateway. Okay, so I have the art scroll here. I don't have it online, apparently. I didn't find it online, but I'm trying to just give you the Jewish take on it. And I will pour out on the house of David and the inhabitants of Jerusalem a spirit of grace and supplication. They will look on me, the one they have pierced. Okay, so let me just read it from the art scroll, because I noticed that there is some difference over there. There's 10, sorry. They will look toward me because of those whom they have stabbed or pierced. Okay, so they're looking at me because of the one that was basically killed. Okay, they have stabbed. Okay, so Asher Dakaru, the one that they have stabbed, or the one that was stabbed. I guess it's they have stabbed. Let's continue. And they will mourn for him as one mourns for an only child, and grieves bitterly for him as one grieves for a firstborn son. On that day, the weeping in Jerusalem will be as great as the weeping of Hadad Rimon in the plain of Megiddo. Okay, so we have these very, very loaded verses. Okay, so I'm trying again to focus on our situation and the Jewish understanding of it, and let's see what's happening. So in the Jewish thought, in the rabbinic discussion about it, this is one of the sources for the debate about the two messiahs. Okay, the two messiahs, whether there's one or two messiahs. So there is a concept called the Messiah son of Joseph, and then after Messiah son of Joseph, there will be a Messiah son of David. Okay, and who exactly is this Messiah son of Joseph? So in Jewish thought, it's not necessarily a person, the Messiah son of Joseph. It could be a movement, could be a group of people, and that person will be stabbed. That person will be hit dramatically. And then the rabbinic discussion goes and basically says that Joseph, what he tried to do, like Joseph, the son of Jacob, he tried to save Egypt. Okay, so he didn't work in the land of Israel, he worked abroad. Okay, I can't remember, in his dream he see the night, okay, and we see the stars and the moon bowing to him. So his field of operation is the night, which is in Jewish thought, it's outside of Israel, the exile, or just outside of Israel. This is the night. So Joseph's idea is that if I fix this world, if I repair this world, if I help this world, then I will bring salvation to Israel. But the field of action, the place where I should work is not in the land of Israel, but abroad. Similar to him, Abraham also thought the same. He says, I'm in Haran, I will teach the people of Haran about the God of Israel, and he make many souls basically over there. But God has a different plan. And we know that after Joseph died, Pharaoh and the people of Egypt didn't want to hear about him. Although he saved them from starvation, they didn't want to hear about him because of the economic system he fixed in Egypt. And you can read about it in Genesis. So the conclusion is that, okay, there is a foundation, and the Messiah son of Joseph is the foundation, is the financial and the military foundation of the next level. So in Jewish thought, the Messiah son of Joseph is the secular world on which the plant of David is going to be planted. Okay, there is no political salvation unless you have running economy, unless you have a strong military, and only then you can implement the shoot of the house of David into that, either graft it into this tree, or I'm using the imagery of the rabbis. You can graft it into this particular tree, or you can plant it in this particular soil. If you don't have that, you don't have the next level, which is the Messiah son of David. So the person that we see here, this man that was stabbed, okay, this firstborn, the person that so many people are going to grieve over, okay, the Messiah son of Joseph, in a way, it's so the modern rabbis will interpret it, it's the secular Zionists. The secular Zionist movement is the one that led built the foundation, the financial foundation, the economy, the institutions, the military. Okay, they are these people, but at some point there is they can't hold anymore. The secular Zionist movement cannot hold anymore. And I think the biggest representative of the secular Zionist movement is the kibbutzim, the kibbutz movement. They are really the founders of Israel, are these pioneers that really gave everything for this to build the country. So the kibbutzim that we just saw destroyed in the Western Negev near Gaza, this is like the essence of the 1940s, 50s, 60s Israel. And all of a sudden we see that something really bad happened to them. And even if you take the 10 months of protests against the government and against the judicial reform, in a way they are fighting for that son that was stabbed. Okay, they were fighting for this for the Messiah, son of Joseph, that was stabbed, that was in disgrace. Okay, so I'm loading. This is my take on it, is that a lot of what we experienced in the last year has a lot to do with this prophecy. So now that we see that the Messiah, son of Joseph, is dead, okay, or the Talmud actually says that he will be resurrected by the Messiah, son of David. But once he's out of the picture, okay, we see that it's a massive weeping. Okay, Jerusalem will be great as the weeping of Hadad Rimon in the plain of Megiddo. Okay, so the weeping over the secular Zionist movement, or the weeping of some like their sense of control on the foundation of the country. But this is supposed to promote, in a way, the Messianic era, the days of the Messiah, son of David. So it was a bit loaded, but I hope you get the picture. I'll also say, just in a general note, the amount of funerals going on in Mount Herzl right now is so sad. We're talking about more than 300 soldiers that were killed so far, and God willing, there will be no more. But it's just really devastating. So this is just to give you a sense of what's happening here. Let's just complete that. The land will mourn, each clan by itself, with their wives by themselves, the clan of the house of David and their wives, the clan of the house of Nathan and their wives, the clan of the house of Levi and their wives, the clan of Shimei and their wives, and all the rest of the clans and their wives. Okay, so there is a lot of weeping, and it almost seems this imagery over here that the nation is kind of separated. Each one is crying on his own. So I cannot really relate to that. I must say that it seems like Israel in these dark times is very, very much united. And that's it. That's what I want to share here with you in this very loaded chapter, but I hope it was interesting. This is it. So if you have more questions, you're welcome. I can also stop the recording if you have something that I prefer to record everything because you have such an amazing questions and remarks, so I prefer to record everything. But if you prefer, I can close the recording or stop the recording.
I've got a question. Would you think that that text is speaking in one way to the situation now, but there is still a future fulfillment? Is that how or would you think that the Messianic era is at hand?
Okay, so I'll say two things. Historically speaking, in the Jewish thought, okay, in the Jewish rabbinic thought, the prophecies that we have in our Bible is those that were given for generations, meaning that they're always relevant. Okay, they're always relevant. They'll always be relevant. They are, that's what's special about them. We don't always see when we are familiar with it, then we're kind of trying to project that on reality, but sometimes it fits and sometimes it doesn't. Okay, but the point in that is those are the prophecies that are recorded, that we have in our canon, are forever. We had other prophets. We have many other prophets that are not recorded. We also have prophecies that were given to prophets that we know of, okay, but they were not recorded. Meaning, Prophet Jeremiah had other things to say. Prophet, Zephaniah, he had other prophecies, but they were not recorded because they were only relevant for that moment in time that he lived. Okay, and those who are recorded and in our canon, they are forever. Okay, so this is one thing that you should know in the Jewish thought. I'm reading the text in 2023. Okay, so this is I'm reading it, and that's what I see. Okay, is it true? Is it really speaking about our days? I don't know. Okay, I'm just sharing my thoughts with you. I thought it will be interesting. It's a pretty famous Messianic chapter, so I thought it will be interesting too. And there was another thing that I wanted to say. What was the last part of your question? Remind me.
No, don't get me wrong. I appreciate that perspective. Absolutely. I just wanted to understand, and that was already helpful. I just see there is a prophecy, for instance, given, was it Abraham, or that his offspring would spend 430 years as in Egypt.
In Egypt, yeah.
And that was, I would say, that was already fulfilled. The prophecies in the Torah, and the fulfillment is also in the Torah. And other prophecies, I guess, are also already fulfilled, and others are not. And I was just, but my question was just that if you see, or that because of what's happening now, that the Messianic era is at hand. That was my...
Yeah, the Messianic era is at hand. Yeah, very good. Yeah, that's the one that I forgot. Okay. Okay. Okay, so about the prophecies that are recorded in the Bible, some of them were fulfilled. It's true. Okay, some of them, like, God is speaking to these amazing people, and they utter it. They told it to the nation of Israel in those days, and some of the prophecies already fulfilled. We know it's already fulfilled. My point is that the prophecies that are documented, even though it was fulfilled, it's still very relevant for our days. Okay, you see? So it's not just like fortune telling. It's not just about your future, your far future. If some of these prophecies were fulfilled against, I don't know, the Assyrian army, against this, against that, it was already fulfilled. That's it. The Assyrian army was killed, like Prophet Isaiah prophesied. Okay, it was destroyed, but like Prophet Isaiah prophesied. But it still carries relevance to this day. How exactly? I'm not an expert to know about each prophecy, but I'm just saying that there is a reason why it's there. Okay, that's to this part of the question. About the Messianic era, so I'm coming from religious Zionist, understanding of it. Okay, not I didn't grow up as religious. Okay, religious person. I'm not very observant even today. But my point is that these are the rabbis I follow. And if you ask an ultra-Orthodox rabbi that doesn't see the state of Israel, the modern state of Israel, and the gathering of the Jews in the land of Israel in 1948 onwards, okay, they would say, no, the Messianic era didn't start yet. Okay, so this is specifically ultra-Orthodox. Others, religious Zionists, rabbis, and even secular people would say, what are you talking about? We live in the Messianic era already. Since 1948, since we're broke the shackles of the exile, and we're a sovereign country. Since 1948, we are already in the Messianic era, following the teachings of Rambam, the Maimonides. So again, are we in the Messianic era? I think yes. If you ask, I don't know, ultra-Orthodox people, maybe they'll have a slightly different answer. So this is again my take on it.
Thank you very much. And I have if I may have another question, because the text you just read to us makes the distinctions between some of the tribes by name. And of course, your name is Ben David, which
it's just a random. My great grandfather was David, and my grandfather called the family after him. That's it.
Lots of Jewish people have Levi in their name, or Kohen, which would link them to
tribe of Levi. Yes.
Yes, and to Aaron, the Kohens, I believe.
Yes.
So is there anything that is going on for the other people that do not have these surnames, as a hint to which tribe they originally belong? Is there anything of that?
Okay. So in the Bible, we know that the Assyrian army exiled the tribes of the north. Okay. And the tribe of Judah, Simon, a little bit of Benjamin, and Levi survived. They were still there. Okay, but because Judah is such a prominent tribe, it's the tribe of the kings. Okay, it's like we already see in the Persian Empire that Mordecai is called Mordecai the Jew, although like the Jew from the tribe of Judah, although he was from the tribe of Benjamin. See, so we already see in the Bible that other tribes kind of lost their tribal identity, and they all merged into the tribe of Judah. See, so beside of uniquely, okay, the tribe of Levi and the priests, okay, the priesthood, they have their own identity, but their other tribes assimilated into the tribe of Judah. So this is a very interesting example. In the book of Esther, Mordecai is from the tribe of Benjamin. He's from the house of King Saul, basically King Shaul, but he's being called Mordecai the Jew. Okay, I can give you an example from the New Testament. Paul was from the tribe of, he says about himself that he was from the tribe of Benjamin. So did he actually carry this tribal identity since 600 years earlier? Maybe. I mean, could be, but I'm not very familiar with other people that actually remember their tribal identity. Maybe it's documented in the Talmud somewhere, but I can't remember any of that. The Ethiopians are called, I mean, they have their own tradition that they are from the tribe of Dan. And we have the tribe of Manasseh, from North India. I can't remember the name of the places, but it's somewhere in North India. There are Jews that are consider themselves the tribe of Manasseh. Okay, so this is a more recent thing that we hear about. The Ethiopians connected to the tribe of Dan is not new. It's like we have Eldad Hadani, Eldad from Ethiopia, from the tribe of Dan, that ended up in Babylon, and said he brought these traditions that the Jewish people in Ethiopia are from the tribe of Dan. This is like a very unique testimony that we have. So once again, no one really carries the tribal identity beside of Judah and Levi.
Just a thought, because some time ago I was looking into just for to be interested, to be informed into Mormons and LDS church, and then I found that the genetics clearly show that there's no connection between the Hebrews. They claim that the Hebrews left Israel for the Babylonian exile and went to the Americas.
Correct.
But now that you can look at the genetics, you can clearly see that that's not the case.
Yeah, they're from Sweden or Norway or whatever.
No, they have Asian. They have more. So it's the indigenous people of America should have Hebrew DNA, but they don't. They have the DNA from Asian.
You mean the Mormons?
I mean,
wait, I got confused.
Okay, so the Mormons said that the indigenous people of North America, the so-called Indians in former times, that they are the descendants of the Hebrews that left Jerusalem 600.
There was a group of Hebrew, that's true. I mean, not true. That's what they claim. Okay, that's what there was claim. A group from Judah that ended up in the Americas, got married with the Indians, and they're like Hebrews. Okay, yeah, that's true. That's what they claim. Yeah.
That's what they claim, but now that you can look at the DNA, you can see that that's not true.
Yeah,
it's not true.
Not shocking, but okay.
And so because nowadays you can do so much with DNA, it's just something I find interesting. If you might be able to see what tribe you are, from originally.
I see. Okay. I'm not familiar with any research about that. And again, just think about it. Okay, if we have 10 tribes that are historically assimilated into Assyria, and even if they are Jewish, they don't even know about it. If they have Jewish blood, they don't even know about it. Okay, and then you have these mishmash of, again, Judah, Levi, Benjamin, and Simon somehow mixed between themselves. How exactly do you trace any of them. I mean, it's hard to say. Also, take into consideration that there were men and women that converted into Judaism over the centuries and got married with these people. So again, I would expect to find a little bit of mishmash, and it's not shocking.
I mean, I just made a DNA analysis for myself, and then you can see such percentage is from this part that, you know, it's like they can separate it, so they can, even if there has been mishmash, there is an opportunity or possibility to say, well, this part of your DNA comes from this heritage, and this part comes from.
Yeah. So my response was, Jeff kind of it was very interesting that he just wrote it. So Jeff is writing. He speaks about the Bnei Menashe, the children of Menashe. That's the northern Indian Jews. And then he speaks about there are Kohanim. Okay, there are priests, haplotypes in DNA, but we don't necessarily use this as a definitive proof of one being a Kohen. Okay, which is true. So in general, what I wanted to say is very much related to that. We don't really use DNA in order to convey tribal identity. It's not a thing. No one is checking. In general, you also need to know that in Israel, this whole DNA test is not very popular. It's just people don't do that. I guess we can send it to whatever labs in America or whatever, but people don't do that. Why exactly? I have my own understanding of it. I think that the Jewish identity is so strong that people don't need external evidence for anything. But what we're trying to say is that, okay, so you found a DNA of a Kohen. If I take a test, I'm 25% Kohen. I know it because my grandmother is a daughter of a Kohen. So sorry, it's a patrilineal. So maybe I'm not. Okay, forget about it. But my wife is the daughter of a Kohen. So I guess my child will not have the patrilineal, DNA that is conveying the characteristic, not characteristic, but just, you'll find it in other Kohanim, okay? But it's irrelevant because it's matrilineal is just irrelevant. You can't be a Kohen if your mother is a Kohen or daughter of a Kohen. It's not relevant. So with Jewish identity in general, it's conveyed by the mother. So even if the father is Jewish, then if the father is Jewish, then halachically speaking, okay, according to the Jewish law, you're not Jewish. Although you could be a lot of percent Jewish, or 50% more. Okay, this is how the Jewish law works. So we just don't really use that. That's what I would say. I guess if you go to Latin America, I guess if you go to places like Spain and Portugal, you can find many people who take their DNA test. You'll find a lot of Jewish blood over there. I won't be surprised if you'll see that, because they're just all assimilated, or forcibly converted and then kind of assimilated into the general population. So again, the DNA thing is not it's not a very big deal as far as we're concerned. We have our own criteria for that. So you can, I'll give you the opposite example. You could be 100% non-Jew in your DNA, but still 100% Jewish in your religious identity, meaning a convert. If you converted to Judaism, you're Jewish. It doesn't matter what your DNA. Okay. So I hope it answers your question. Okay. Again, appreciated your time. I thought about something that I didn't say in the past. When we study the Torah, it's also gives that energy that we want, and it's a part of our prayer. Basically, we study the Torah, and we hope that this repentance, us being close to the Word of God and dealing with the Word of God, will also it's like a supplication. It's like we're trying to reach God this way, and when we do that, we're trying to show Him that we love Him. We need His help and support in these dark times. So we start with the book of Psalms. That's our prayer. But the study that we close with is also for those who are kidnapped and injured, or God forbid killed. It's all about that. So I hope I didn't say that in the past, but it just in my thought it's just so basic. But I didn't express that. So our studying, our Torah studying, and our Psalm reading, it's all a part of that. It's all for those who were the victims of this atrocious attack, and for the success of our soldiers. So thank you again for joining, for tuning in. It was a little longer than usual, and there was a lot to catch up after the weekend. So I appreciate your time, and I hope to meet you again tomorrow. If you have anything else, then you're welcome. If not, then I'll see you. Okay, very good. Thank you very much, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye, Karina. Thank you very much for staying. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you. Thank
All the
you
best,
very
guys.
much.
Bye-bye for now.